Um, so I was asked to speak a little bit about social movements, and I want to suggest that while the deans might start off by saying that you've come to the right place because it's Annenberg and it's USC and it's great and stuff like that, I want to suggest that in terms of social movements, you're in the right place at the right time. So what do I mean by that? Think about what happened yesterday in the United States. That the President of the United States announced a shift in immigration policy, immigration enforcement, such that undocumented kids who are not legally in the country, but who arrived here before they were 16 and have lived here continuously for 5 years, going to high school, that sort of a thing, are going to be allowed to stay in the country and not be deported with a 2-year temporary stay. And they will be given work permits. And you've got to know that over time, that what that's going to transform into is essentially what these students have been struggling for the last couple of years, something called the DREAM Act, which is a way of giving a path toward legalization for undocumented students who were born in other countries but basically grew up in the United States. You heard about that in the news yesterday, right? Yeah. So here's what's amazing. I mean, those kids did that, right? Because the movement for comprehensive immigration reform 2 years ago, most immigrant rights groups, they did not want the kids to pursue the DREAM Act. They didn't want those kids to pursue the DREAM Act because they thought that if they did that for this group of young people, that it would break off the solidarity needed to actually pursue comprehensive immigration reform. They were told that they could not do that. They were told that if they tried to do it, they would not be successful. They were told that if you are undocumented, you should stay in the shadows. And instead, the strategy that they took was coming out. They actually started announcing that they were undocumented and basically daring people to arrest them, right? With the idea being that they would make their presence known. And they borrowed the trope, the mechanism of coming out, from the lesbian, gay, transgender community, which uses coming out, making it known that you're homosexual or gay or lesbian, as a way of protecting yourself by coming out rather than protecting yourself by hiding. So a group of ragtag kids, and literally, I mean, yesterday they were planning an action all across the United States, and the action was to try to get the administration to do something. Little did they know that that morning they actually had. And so they were just in massive celebration yesterday. That is a social movement, right, that actually went to build widespread solidarity amongst the people who would be affected by policy change, build widespread commitments amongst others who would be supportive of the policy change, and actually have a policy change in mind, and then also be willing to negotiate and accept something that's less than what they actually wanted to be in the game. That's amazing what happened yesterday. It was completely unpredictable. Imagine a group of people who are not legally in the country stepping up to their American rights, borrowing all the tropes of America to do that. And you're in the right place, Los Angeles, because not only was Los Angeles one of the birthplaces of the so-called dreamers, but it's important for you to realize that Los Angeles, 50 years ago, was known as the Wicked City. It was known as the Wicked City not because we sinned, although I'm assuming that we sinned quite well. But it was known as the Wicked City because it was one of the most anti-labor cities in the United States. It was very much against unions, very much against unionization. The town was essentially controlled by a very small white Protestant elite that suppressed labor unions. And it's a place that's actually gone through some of the most dramatic racial upheavals, the Watts riots in 1965 and the 1992 civil unrest that was triggered by the verdict in the Rodney King repeating of the trial of the police officers who beat a black motorist, Rodney King. So, in the last 20 years, that place that was the Wicked City, the anti-union, that place that was the scene of racial confrontation and conflict has become a place that's recognized as a center of multi-ethnic, multicultural, social movement building. This is the only place in the United States where private sector unionization has been on the rise, mostly to the organization of immigrant Latinos. It is a place where there are amazing new organizations building ties between African Americans and Latinos and others in the city. It elected the first Latino mayor in 150 years, who actually comes out of a progressive political perspective. When he won, his campaign, the field campaign to get the votes out, was run by a former member of the Black Panther Party, who runs a community organization in South Los Angeles, just to the south of you, that does a lot of work on essentially progressive economic policy. So it's the right time, and you're in the right place to kind of understand